Hello friends, my name is Marines and today I'll be doing the Booktube Real Talk tag. It has been about a month since my last video here on this channel. I have started contributing videos over on Read Bliss's channel, so you guys should check that out, especially if you want to hear me talk more about my romance reading. The channel's super wholesome content about romance, and I will be there at least once a month talking about some of my recent romance reads. We've also been consistently uploading Snark Squad Pod, talking about TV and movies and books that we're reading over there. But content here has suffered mostly because of my wild travel schedule. It always happens in the first quarter of the year, and April's kind of the end of it. I'm just getting back from my final trip until I go on family vacation with some of my Booktube friends, in fact, in June. So things will calm down for a while here, and I was feeling a little bit down and overwhelmed just with the amount of things that I have to get together in my own life and about being kind of quiet on this channel. So I decided just not to think about it too much and jump into recording something. And I've seen this tag going around. It's a good way to talk about the community, about creating on this community, and just get back into the swing of things, as inconsistent as they can be for me, you know, just trying not to get too down about that and continue to create as I can. I've even left my glasses on, and this is, I guess we'll talk about things like this as we go through the tag, but I always get complaints about my videos where I have my glasses on because you can see the ring light or the glare or whatever it is, and so if I don't have my contacts on, I feel like I can't record a video. But it's after work, I have my glasses on, it is what it is. I'd like to put my best effort into these and make them something that is visually appealing and that the content is appealing, but sometimes you can get into this spiral of doing so much for just the prep of a video or building it up so much in your head or in my head. And when, especially I think when you have anxiety, that like buildup of something before you do it can get away from you. So I left my glasses on. I have not prepared this video. I've led with like a minute or two of introduction, but I'm back after so much travel, and I'm here to talk to you guys about Booktube. This tag was created by Books with Alyssa J. I will leave her original video down in the description, and if you want some real talk, I will tell you to please go check that video out. Give her some love. This tag has been all over Booktube, and it always happens, especially with smaller channels and channels from women of color, that they start a thing, the community runs away with it, and a disproportionate amount of the attention goes to people with bigger channels, and the person who started the thing does not receive as much of that love and attention. So please go check out her channel, check out the original tag. It's a great one, like I said, for talking about the community, and we're gonna jump right into the questions. That wasn't right into the questions. We're now going to jump into the questions after a lot of prelude. Question number one is, what's something nobody told you about Booktube before you started your channel? I started Booktube 4 years ago, and when I started, I feel like the advice that was primarily going around about like starting a channel and what to do to be successful was all like, be yourself, and you don't need fancy equipment, and use natural light. And I feel like there were no conversations about the barrier to entry to Booktube and the ways that I didn't think about how difficult it would be for me to start because nobody was talking about it. I didn't have a super fancy camera at the very beginning. I was using natural light, and it was fine, I guess, except for if the sun moved, the entire lighting in your video changed, or you know, it would go from like sunny to cloudy in the same video, or the sun wasn't out, or I couldn't record during times when the sun was out. Like I work for the majority of the weekday, so it really limited the time where I could record. In addition to that, I was living with my parents, and so there wasn't a lot of quiet time or ability to record. I also was in just one room in my parents' house, so I didn't have a lot of space, and I definitely didn't have a lot of space for a collection. I had like one standing bookshelf. At some point I was just stacking books on the floor as I was like slowly building a collection of my own, and those are very privileged problems when you consider that I'd already passed the barriers of like a reliable internet connection or even just any way to record or things of that nature. Obviously, as my circumstances have changed, I've grown in my profession, I've gotten my own space, more disposable income, all of these things get easier. And so it's because these things have gotten easier, because I now own a ring light, even though people are still complaining about that, like you look back and you see all of the barriers to entry. So I just didn't hear anybody talking about like the real ways that it was difficult to even break into this community. And that's part of the reason why diversity just continues to be a topic that we talk about, and the ways that this community isn't necessarily representative of the diverse worlds that we live in, because it is just not so simple as like turn on your camera and, you know, be yourself and everything will be fine. Question number 2 is, what is your opinion on typical booktube videos like wrap-ups, TBRs, hauls, etc.? I feel like this conversation is it just goes on and on and on, especially for a lot of these things. I will say that people feel some kind of way individually about these topics and then project that onto the community. I feel like a lot of times after you've been doing booktube for a while, you start to get a little pinned in by some of these typical videos, and you start thinking about creativities and ways to be set apart and how you can do things outside of the norm. And then that gets projected onto the community, like maybe those normal things aren't enough, like maybe there's not enough creativity in them. I think it's really just worth it to kind of turn it back around on you and think about the stuff that you enjoy watching and then reflect that in the stuff that you enjoy making. I personally don't like unboxing videos. I've said this on my channel before. I don't like watching them, so I don't make them, but I don't sit here and, you know, crap on unboxing videos. You know, you do you make the content that you find enjoyable. Same thing with hauls, same thing with TBRs. TBRs don't work for me because I'm a mood reader. I don't buy enough books to always do hauls, especially not monthly. So I do hauls occasionally when I have enough books that I want to talk about to justify them. So there are a lot of ways that the booktube staples don't work for me personally, but I think they're staples for a reason. I will only add that I think that reviews get a really bad rap here on booktube, and I think part of the reason is because when you make a review, they are very difficult, and I know that it's not everybody's jam. Obviously, I love reviewing books. I love talking about books in all kinds of mediums here on Booktube, on a podcast, now over on Read Bliss, like all over the place. I would talk about books forever, specifically in review format. I understand that that's not for everybody, but I also think that people hesitate to make them because the reputation of reviews is that they don't get views. However, reviews are evergreen content. And when I'm discovering a channel or when I'm just searching on YouTube, I'm not like, you know, somebody's January 2017 wrap-up video. Like, I don't care about that content outside of January 2017. So I'm going for people's reviews of books I've already read, or I'm searching books on YouTube to see who has reviewed them already. So that's the kind of stuff that won't get you immediate views or attention, but that will last forever here on YouTube. When I sort my channel by popularity, most of the top videos are review videos or discussion videos where I'm talking about a lot of books in one. All of those like monthly wrap-ups that I did at the beginning of my channel, while good and great for immediate community engagement and had a lot to do with me building friendships in my channel, they don't last as long outside of that. Number 3 is, what is an assumption you had about Booktube before you joined? Was it proven to be correct or not? Obviously, it's pretty different 4 years on from when I joined, but when I joined, some of the first videos I made, and I really remember seeing this reflected at least in who I was following at the time, and I was under the assumption that people were not giving negative or critical reviews here in the Booktube community. I kind of stand by that. I know that a lot of it is how you curate and who you are watching, and I'm sure that there were people giving critical and negative reviews when I joined. I'm positive of that. The people that were most visible to me at that time when I joined were not creating the kind of critical content that I really wanted to create, and so I had to step up and do that thing. Obviously, in doing that and being critical, I found other people who were doing the same and who were willing to do the same. So I don't know if that assumption was correct or not correct. I feel like probably somewhere in the middle. Interestingly enough, I feel like things have swung to the other side where there is now a whole subset of people whose like entire brand is being extra critical. I think there's like a whole salt brand out there, which is super entertaining. And again, if you sort my videos by popularity, the negative ones are always up at the top. Like, it works. I just think it's interesting that when I started, it was like, is there anyone out there saying anything other than 5 stars? Where obviously now people are a little more comfortable doing those kind of negative critical reviews. Question number 4 is, what is something you've done that has actually helped you grow your audience? I'm in a really weird spot with this channel. I don't want to sound ungrateful at all, because I am super grateful, and I know that all of this is, you know, you work hard, and I don't think anybody who's here is like not working hard. So you put a ton of time into this and you work hard, but there are a lot of things outside of your control that go into how big your community is. So I'm grateful for any exposure. I'm grateful for everyone who has subscribed over the 4 years that I've been on this platform. But in a lot of ways, I've seen people who started right alongside me or after me who have grown exponentially more than I have. I still often feel like a small channel in a lot of ways, but I know that there's just weird gaps in this community, from like 0 to like 1,000 or 2,000 subscribers, and then you hit like people who are where I am with 10,000, 11,000, 12,000, but then the bigger channels are all the way up at 100,000, 200,000 subscribers. So they're just, and that spread is nothing compared to like YouTube at large, but in a community this small, like those differences feel a lot larger. My point is that I've been here for 4 years, and I've definitely grown pretty consistently. Like I said, I'm super grateful for that, and I know it's very difficult sometimes to find your legs here in terms of subscribers, but I'm not sure that I'm the best person to talk about, you know, like growing your channel. I've already mentioned at the beginning of this video that my whole thing has been more about enjoyment and community and engagement and creating when I can, because my schedule has been all over the place in the 4 years that I've been creating. So I don't know, the subscribers that I have come through just slow and steady creating and engaging and responding to comments and being active on Twitter and participating in discussions and that sort of thing, which is nothing mind-blowing, I guess, or so out of the box. So that's all I have to contribute to that. Question number 5 is, what is a common mistake you see new booktubers making, or one that you made? I was just talking to my best friend Nicole about this. I saw her recently in person, which was great, and we always get to talking about creating things and media. It's what we love to do, obviously, Snark Squad and all that. But I was talking to her about like channels and the way that even back when I was blogging in like the heyday of personal blogging, this was true, that people who had like niche blogs and who have like niche channels find a quicker way to their audience. Their audience is more able to find that content, but I think that it can be a mistake in that people change and evolve, and a lot of times I see people who stick very closely to a niche, or even more than that for Booktube, that kind of put on a persona for the purpose of these videos. If you put on this persona, that I think can get to a place where it can be a burden. And especially if you want to do this in across any amount of time, understanding that you will grow up as a person, that you will change as a person. If you then put on this persona, it's very difficult to let that grow with you. The more that you hem yourself in, the more difficult it is to then later tell your audience, hey, I want to try a new thing. I want to do something different. And then becomes like a bigger deal to include other things in your channel or do a different style of thing. I don't think it's impossible. I've just seen people struggle with that a lot. Question number 6 is, what are your thoughts on working with publishers and sponsorships? I've done a video, maybe 2. I've done at least 1 video about talking about money and Booktube, because I think this is another thing that gets, as people grow within the community, as Booktube gets more recognition and exposure, we start to talk about the ways that this community engages with other aspects of the publishing community and deals with things like money and sponsorships and all that. And I've always been like, team, get that money. And as somebody who does this for 99% free, whenever there's an opportunity where I can do it for not the free, I always look at it very carefully and make sure it's something that makes sense to me and makes sense to who I am and, is not suddenly going to be a paid unboxing after I've said 27 million times on this channel that I don't like unboxings. That wouldn't feel natural to me, and that wouldn't, I think, communicate something good to my audience. I feel it would be a little disingenuous. So I think that there are ways to be transparent, to make content that feels natural to you and to your audience. But also, like, get that money. I don't know why people get so salty, especially if people are being transparent, saying, hey, this is a partnership that I'm doing. And that's really exciting, not only for the person who can continue to make content, but also for the community as a whole, because it means that there are people out there who recognize that this community exists and who puts value on it. Question number 7 is, do you think Booktube is dying? Again, I will revert back to this idea that a lot of times we have like these personal feelings about the community, and then we can project that onto the community. And I also think that Booktube is probably going through a little bit of a shifting and a rearranging. Like, this community, in order to keep growing and to keep alive and to not die, has to keep reinventing itself a little bit. You know, there are things that are staples, the reviews, the wrap-ups, the TBRs, but I think that this community, as new people come in and as we see diverse people come in, there are ways that they will shake things up, and this community has to change in order to keep thriving. So do I think that it's dying because some of the old things are going away? No, absolutely not. I think that, you know, there's a lot of visibility for Booktube at the moment, and there is a ton of room to grow. People are still joining, people are still interacting, people are growing. I'm also not at the point where I've topped out or that I've seen my personal views go down, and I know that people have, but I'm not big enough to really see that either. So again, my personal experience of the thing, maybe I'm projecting that onto Booktube, but that's all I can really talk about, is that from my personal experience, my channel continues to steadily grow, especially when I actually create content. I've seen the same kind of engagement. I'm still very excited about creating stuff on here. I'm still very excited about Booktube as a whole. Obviously, we've got BookNet Fest, kind of just immersing ourselves in the book community and helping it to continue to grow, and having these conversations about the things that we create on a deeper and personal level. So I don't know, I'm invested in the book community, and perhaps that is why I think that it is alive and thriving, and I hope it continues to be alive and thriving for many years to come. That's pretty much it for me today. If you guys have anything to add on my answers to these questions or any of this discussion, please let me know. If there's anything else you would like to know about my experience on Booktube, I'd love to talk to you guys about it down in the comments or in a follow-up video. Hopefully, as I said, my travel for the moment, at least for the next month, is done. So I'm going to try and get to this place where I can just hop back in front of the camera, talk to you guys about what I'm reading, because I have been reading through all of this, which is super exciting. And yeah, I am grateful to you guys as always for being so patient with me. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys soon. Talking about what I want to talk about, doing what I want to do. Mostly that has been books because yes, brand.